March 22, 2008, 4:17 m. The emergency call crackles through the radio system aboard the Carnival Paradise. Somewhere in the dark waters between Grand Cayman and Cozumel, a panicked father's voice pierces the silence. My daughter. She's gone. She's just 8 years old. We've looked everywhere. The cabin steward responds in minutes. The door to the family's room is locked from the inside. The security chain is still fastened. Nothing looks out of place except for the child's bed. The bunk is empty. Sheets are pulled back. Her small stuffed rabbit is resting quietly on the pillow. A lone dot by the time the sun rises, the passenger decks have been searched. By noon, the Coast Guard suspended the effort. The official report will later confirm what little they have. No signs of struggle, no witnesses, no physical evidence. Nobody died, just an 8-year-old girl. Gone without a trace from a cabin that was locked from the inside, while her parents slept just 6 feet away. Inside the room, Hannah Bradson jolts awake. Someone is shaking her. It's Patrick, her husband. His face is pale and frightened in the soft cabin light. His lips are moving, but she can't make out the words. Not right away. Then he says it. 3 words. Amy's not here. At first, her mind refuses to accept it. It doesn't make sense. She sits up slowly, scanning the room. The bunk bed is empty. The small Winnie the Pooh nightlight still glows in the corner. Amy's sneakers are neatly placed by the closet, exactly where Hannah left them before tucking her daughter in. She swings her legs out of bed, her bare feet touching the cold floor. Maybe she's in the bathroom, she murmurs. More to herself than to Patrick, but he's already shaking his head. I checked. I've checked everywhere. The bathroom door hangs slightly open. The room is still. No sound, no movement. The shower stall is empty. No Amy curled up in the tub the way she sometimes did during storms back home. No tiny figure hiding behind the curtain, giggling through a game. Hannah moves quickly now. She opens every drawer, every small door. She lifts the bedskirt, looks under the bunks, checks the closet, pulls back the curtain, even peers behind the mounted television. Patrick watches her. Knowing what she find. Nothing. Her hands begin to tremble. When did you last see her? She asked. His voice is hoarse. Double quotes 11-30. I got up to use the bathroom. I looked at her. She was asleep, holding her rabbit. When I woke up 20 minutes ago, she was gone. They do the math. It gives them a window, maybe 4 or 5 hours. Hannah tries the cabin door. The handle turns. It opens easily now, but Patrick stops her. It was locked from the inside, he says. The chain was in place. I had to take it off before I could open it and check. She looks down at the chain now dangling loose. Show me. Patrick reattaches it, slides it into place. The door opens just a few inches, barely enough to see out. No way a person could slip through. No way anyone could have entered or exited without breaking the chain. Amy didn't leave on her own. Not with that chain locked. But somehow, she's gone. The cabin steward returns. This time, he brings ship security. 2 officers step inside, dressed in clean white uniforms. The radios crackle quietly. They ask the questions again. When did you last see her? Was the door secured? Any unusual sounds during the night? Hannah barely hears them. There's a rushing in her ears. One officer inspects the sliding balcony door. Still locked. Condensation fogs the inside of the glass undisturbed. The other officer walks through the small cabin, checking under the beds and the closet, behind furniture. Sometimes children hide, he says gently. It happens more often than you'd think. But this cabin is tiny. Just 12 by 14 feet. There's nowhere left to look. Where does an 8-year-old vanish to? In a room the size of a parking space, by 5 a.m., the search widens. Crew members scatter through the ship onto pool decks, into lounges, game rooms, the kids' activity zone, dining areas, stairwells, theaters. The public address system clicks on. Would Amy Bradson please report to guest services? Amy Bradson, if you're hearing this, please find the nearest crew member. Hannah and Patrick drift from hallway to hallway, whispering their daughter's name. Over and over until their voices crack. Other passengers wake up. Cabin doors open. Some listen. Others offer to help. A few gather their children close, wide-eyed. 6 a.m., the captain makes the call. Emergency protocols begin. The ship slows. Spotlights sweep across the sea. A grid search begins over the ocean they already passed. They're searching for anything ashape. A flash of color, movement in the water. Hannah stands at the railing. Patrick beside her. Both of them staring at the endless dark blue. The sun rises behind them, soft and glowing. Golden and terrible. How can the sun rise? When Amy is missing? How can the world keep turning? When their daughter is simply gone? A crew member approaches with a clipboard. Quiet, careful. I'm very sorry, he says. But we need to inspect your cabin again. With your permission. Wordlessly, Hannah and Patrick nod. They walk back, stand silently at the doorway, and watch as the officers search every corner. One more time. They find Amy's iPad tucked inside her small backpack, still fully charged. No unusual apps opened. No odd messages. No recent activity. Her clothes are neatly folded in the tiny dresser. The book she was reading is still there, a bookmark wedged halfway through the pages. Everything is in place. Everything is exactly where it should be, except for Amy herself. 7:15 A.M. Ship security begins reviewing surveillance footage. Like most modern cruise ships, the Carnival Paradise is equipped with cameras nearly everywhere, covering corridors, stairwells, elevators, pool decks, dining halls. But there are gaps, blind spots, certain places where camera angles don't quite overlap. And for privacy, individual cabin doors are never monitored. Footage confirms that Amy and her parents returned to their cabin at 9:43 p.m. the previous night. The hallway camera records them stepping inside. The door closes. Then, nothing. There's no further movement until 4:17 a.m., when Patrick emerges from the cabin, alone, and rushes down the corridor toward the guest services desk. No footage of Amy leaving. No sign of her exiting the room. No strangers approaching the door. The hallway camera's view is clear, its line of sight uninterrupted. It records every person who passed by that section of Deck 9 between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. minus 14 passengers in total, all accounted for. Each one walks past. None pause. None interact with the Bradsons' cabin. Next, security checks the emergency stairwells. Then the elevators. Still nothing. Every camera tells the same story. Amy Bradson did not leave that cabin. But she is not inside it either. By 8 a.m., the FBI is officially notified. Under maritime law, the disappearance now falls under federal jurisdiction. The ship becomes a potential crime scene, though no one has spoken the word crime out loud just yet. Passengers are asked to remain in their rooms while crew members expand the search. They check everything: closets, luggage storage, utility rooms. Then they search the off-limits areas, crew quarters, engine rooms, the kitchens, laundry, even maintenance corridors that guests aren't supposed to know exist. By late morning, a Coast Guard helicopter touches down on the top deck. From it, 2 trained German shepherds emerge, scent dogs, specialized in recovery. They begin their work, nose to floor, sweeping every deck, sniffing cabin doors, passageways, and railings. The dogs circle back again and again, but they pick up nothing. No scent trail leading away from the Bradson cabin. No sign that Amy ever left that 12 by -14-foot space. At 11:30 a.m., the news Hannah and Patrick have feared finally arrives. A Coast Guard commander sits them down. The water search is being suspended. They've flown over the area twice, covered the entire search grid, even expanded the radius beyond reasonable current drift calculations. Still, nothing. No debris. No clothing. No sign of a child in the water. No physical trace of Amy at all. The words strike Hannah like a blow to the chest. She makes a strangled sound, part scream, part sob, and Patrick catches her just before she collapses. The ship reroutes, heads for Miami, where it arrives that evening. FBI agents board immediately, establishing a temporary command center in one of the ship's conference rooms. Interviews begin right away. The Bradsons are questioned separately. Patrick goes first, then Hannah. The agents are kind, but direct. Walk us through the evening again. What time did Amy go to sleep? Did she seem upset about anything? Were there any arguments? Did either of you have drinks at dinner? How much? The goal is clear. They're looking for inconsistencies, red flags, anything that doesn't quite fit. One of the agents explains. We have to eliminate every possibility. That includes the people closest to her. Hannah understands. She knows exactly what's being said between the lines. They are suspects now. They always were. Parents always are. Still, she cooperates fully. Yes, take another look through our cabin. Yes, take our phones, our emails, our entire digital history. You want a polygraph? Fine, I'll take 3. Just find Amy. The results come back clean. No signs of deception. No evidence of harm. But no clues either. No ransom note. No suspicious messages. No outside contact, just silence. March 24th. 2 days since Amy vanished, the FBI holds a press conference. Special Agent Thomas Reeves stands at a podium surrounded by flashing cameras and raised microphones. Reporters shout over one another. Reeves speaks calmly. He asks for help, for information, for anyone aboard the Carnival Paradise between March 20th and 22nd to come forward. If they saw or heard anything out of the ordinary, he describes Amy in careful detail. 8 years old, 4'2", 70 pounds. Brown hair, worn in braids. Wearing pink pajamas decorated with white stars. Last seen inside cabin 9247. He avoids certain words. Don't say abducted. Don't say overboard. He simply says missing. The tip line lights up. Hundreds of calls flood in. Psychics, cruise passengers with vague memories. A dozen people saw a little girl on a different ship at a different port, wearing pink pajamas. Every lead is taken seriously, investigated, logged, eventually dismissed. None are credible. None helped. By March 30th, 1 week after Amy disappeared, the FBI says what everyone already fears. This is now a cold case. There is no trail to follow. If there ever was one, it's gone. So how does an 8-year-old girl disappear from a locked cabin in the middle of the ocean? How does she leave no trace behind? No camera footage. No scent. No struggle. No evidence at all. That's the question. Investigators will ask for the next 6 years. That's the question. Hannah and Patrick will relive every single night. This is the story of a disappearance that seemed impossible and a truth that stayed buried longer than anyone. Imagine. She vanished. The truth took 6 years to surface. To understand what was truly lost that March morning. You first need to understand who Amy Bradson was before she became a headline. Before her face was printed on posters and her name turned into a question mark that haunted investigators. Before the locked cabin, before the ship, before the silence, before everything broke. You need to know the family that existed before. Carnival Paradise. Patrick Bradson was born in 1976 in the coastal town of Pensacola, Florida, a place where military families came and went with the tides. His father served 2 decades in the Navy, retiring as a lieutenant commander. He raised Patrick with discipline, order, and an unwavering belief in duty. At 18, Patrick followed in his father's footsteps. He enlisted in the Navy and worked as an aviation mechanic for 4 years before returning home. With the help of the GI Bill, he earned a degree in engineering from Florida State. Graduating in 2002, he found steady work soon after with a marine construction firm in Tampa, designing seawalls, dock systems, waterfront structures built to withstand pressure and time. He was good at it, reliable, focused, the kind of man who triple-checked measurements and finished every project on time. His coworkers would later describe him using the same words again and again. Dependable, methodical, deeply devoted to his family. Not the kind of man who overlooked details. And certainly not the kind of man who lost things. Hannah Lena came from a different world. She was born in 1980 in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and raised by a single mother who worked long shifts as a nurse and sang alto in the church choir every Sunday. Hannah inherited both legacies. She became a pediatric nurse and carried her mother's hymnal everywhere she went. She had a voice that could hush a room, not just because it was beautiful, but because it was kind. In 2004, she met Patrick at a wedding in Clearwater. He was the best man. She sang during the ceremony. They danced at the reception, then talked for hours after the music stopped, long after the staff began stacking chairs. Patrick told her about the structures he designed, built to survive storms and salt water. Hannah talked about sick children, about how they needed more than medicine. Sometimes they just needed someone to hold their hand, to sit beside them, to sing. They understood each other immediately. 2 people drawn to professions that demanded both skill and heart. They married 8 months later. A quiet wedding on Clearwater Beach. Hannah's mother cried tears of joy. Patrick's father stood tall in his uniform, a hand resting firmly on his son's shoulder. Amy arrived in the summer of 2000. She came 3 weeks early. All 6 pounds and 11 ounces of her, lungs strong enough to wake the entire maternity ward. The moment Patrick held her, something shifted inside him. It was more than responsibility. It was something deeper, more powerful. A love that overwhelmed him. Hannah saw it in his face, the way he looked at Amy like she was something fragile and priceless. From that moment on, Patrick's world began revolving around her. Every decision he made, every step he took, passed through one question: what's best for Amy? Hannah felt it too, but in a different way. She became Amy's first best friend, her playmate, her constant companion. They held dance parties in the kitchen while Patrick cooked dinner. They built forts out of blankets and sang lullabies by flashlight. Hannah's warm alto blended with Amy's high, clear soprano until it became something magical. Amy was the kind of child other parents marveled at, joyful, curious, easy. She slept through the night by 3 months. She walked early, spoke early, and asked endless questions. Why is the sky blue? Where do stars go during the day? How do birds remember where to fly? Patrick answered every one, even if it meant explaining thermodynamics to a preschooler. Hannah, meanwhile, encouraged everything, every new interest, every curiosity. They signed Amy up for everything: swim class, piano, pottery, ballet. She tried them all. She liked most of them. But what she loved was reading. By 6, she was flying through chapter books. She read in the car, at breakfast, in bed, even at the dinner table. Her favorite series was about a clever young detective who solved mysteries grown-ups couldn't figure out. Amy wanted to be just like her, brave, smart, the kind of person who made things right. Patrick bought her a magnifying glass and a spiral notebook. Hannah found a child-sized trench coat at a costume shop. Amy wore it proudly, even in the Florida heat, while investigating the backyard and documenting evidence of squirrels, birds, and invisible suspects. By 2008, the Bradsons had found their rhythm. Patrick had just been promoted to senior engineer. The pay was better, the schedule more stable. Hannah was still working as a pediatric oncology nurse at Tampa General, long shifts, emotional work, but she wouldn't trade it for anything. She said it reminded her of why she became a nurse in the first place. Amy was in 3rd grade. Bright, friendly, a straight-A student. She reminded the teacher about forgotten assignments. She had best friends, sleepovers, birthday parties at the roller rink. It was the kind of life parents dream of. The kind of life that makes you believe you're doing everything right. That you've built something secure. In February 2008, Patrick came home with a suggestion. Something small. A surprise. A family cruise for spring break. Just 5 days in the Caribbean. Nothing extravagant. Just time together. Time to relax. Time to celebrate how far they'd come. Time they didn't know they were running out of. They needed a break. A chance to unplug. To breathe and spend real time together. Uninterrupted. At first, Hannah hesitated. She'd never been on a cruise before. The idea of being surrounded by miles of ocean, trapped on a ship with thousands of strangers, made her uneasy. But when Patrick showed Amy the cruise brochure, everything changed. Pools, water slides, kids clubs, beaches, snorkeling. It sounded like one of Amy's adventure books had come to life. "Please, Mom, please?" she asked, eyes shining with excitement. Hannah looked at her daughter's glowing face, then at Patrick's hopeful smile. She couldn't say no. "All right," she said. "Let's do it." Amy squealed with joy. She hugged them both tightly and immediately started making a list of what to pack. Her detective notebook. When at the top, you never know what mysteries I might solve, she said with a serious nod. Patrick and Hannah laughed, sharing a glance over her head. Their brilliant, imaginative girl. March 20th. The day of departure, they drove down from Tampa to Miami. Amy chatted nonstop for 3 full hours, bouncing between everything she wanted to do on the ship and what she hoped to discover. Patrick had researched carefully before booking. He'd chosen the Carnival Paradise for its strong, family-friendly reputation, reliable safety record, and a perfect 5-day itinerary. Grand Cayman, Cozumel, and Key West. Ideal for a first-time family cruise. That afternoon, they boarded. As the ship pulled away from port, they stood together on the deck. Miami's skyline faded behind them, slowly shrinking into the horizon. Amy leaned against the railing between her parents. Hannah rested a hand on her shoulder. Patrick wrapped an arm around them both. Before them stretched open ocean, deep blue, endless, full of promise. Hannah remembers that moment clearly, thinking how lucky they were. How blessed. How nothing could touch this happiness. The first 2 days were everything they'd hoped for. Amy swam until her fingers wrinkled. Ate ice cream for breakfast, because vacation meant bending the rules. She made fast friends in the kids' club, tried karaoke, and begged to try snorkeling next. Patrick and Hannah actually relaxed. They held hands while walking the deck, watched sunsets together, talked in quiet corners. For the first time in months, They remembered what it felt like to be more than just parents. On the evening of March 21st, they had dinner together in the main dining room, a round table set for 3. Amy ordered chicken tenders, her default comfort food, and launched into a rapid-fire recap of her day. "We played bingo and I almost won," she said without stopping. "And then we made crafts and I made bracelets for both of you, but they're not dry yet, so I can't give them to you until tomorrow. Then we went swimming and I did cannonballs and mine made the biggest splash." Patrick and Hannah listened with full attention. They laughed. They soaked it all in. The waiter who served them that night would later tell investigators they seemed happy. Just a normal family on vacation. Nothing unusual. After dinner, the 3 of them watched a magic show in the ship's main theater. Amy sat between them, wide-eyed, completely captivated. She leaned in during each illusion, trying to figure it out. Patrick whispered possible explanations, sleight of hand. Mirrors, angles, misdirection. Amy nodded, focused. Mental notes being taken. Her inner detective at work. Back in the cabin around 9:30 p.m. Amy brushed her teeth, changed into her pink star pajamas, and climbed into the top bunk. Hannah tucked her in, smoothing her hair back gently. Then she sang the lullaby she'd been singing since Amy was a baby. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Amy's eyelids drooped, fighting sleep like always. She never wanted the day to end. Patrick kissed her forehead and handed her the tim forehead, and handed her the pitum and had that kissed her forehead and handed her the pita. Well-loved stuffed rabbit she'd slept with since she was 2. "Sweet dreams, detective," he whispered. "Find some good mysteries." Amy mumbled something back. Already halfway into sleep, Patrick and Hannah got ready for bed themselves. Tired from sun and activity, the cabin went dark by 10 p.m. Save for the soft golden glow of Amy's Winnie the Pooh nightlight, the ship rumbled gently beneath them, rocking just enough to lull them into sleep. It was a peaceful night, the kind they'd had 100 times before. There was nothing unusual, nothing wrong. Nothing to suggest that within 6 short hours, everything would be gone, that Amy would be gone, that this would be the last time Hannah sang to her daughter, the last time Patrick kissed her goodnight, the last time their little family would be whole in the same room, in the same moment, in the same world. Morning would bring the impossible, the nightmare, the question they would never stop asking. But for a few more hours, they slept soundly, unaware that the life they had built was about to fall away. March 25, 2008, 3 days since. Amy vanished. The FBI establishes a formal command center at their Miami field office. Walls are quickly covered with timelines, maps, passenger lists, and cabin layouts. Special Agent Thomas Reeves leads the task force. 16 agents are assigned full-time. They work in shifts, around the clock. They start, as protocol demands, with the most likely scenario. Because in missing child cases, the data is clear, 74% of the time, a family member is involved. Patrick and Hannah Bradson are interviewed, separately, long hours. Different rooms. Different agents. The questions are relentless. Patrick's session lasts over 6 hours. They ask about his marriage, his finances, his relationship with Amy. Were there any arguments that week? Any discipline issues? "Walk me through your movements," they say. From 11 p.m. to 4 a.m., minute by minute. Patrick answers everything. Patrick's voice remains steady, even though the exhaustion is obvious. He answers every question calmly. No arguments that night. No signs of trouble. Amy had been well behaved as always. No financial stress. His salary was strong, and they had savings. He tells the agents that he was asleep until around 3:50 a.m. He woke up needing to use the bathroom. Out of habit, he glanced over at Amy's bunk. That's when he realized she was gone. The polygraph examiner straps him in, attaches the sensors, monitors his heart rate, respiration, galvanic skin response. The machine clicks to life. The pen traces slow, deliberate lines across the paper. Is Amy your biological daughter? Yes. Did you harm her in any way? No. Do you know where she is? No. The needles stay smooth. No spikes, no signs of deception. Nothing to indicate he's lying. Hannah's interview is different. The tone softer. The setting more comfortable, but no less thorough. They ask about her past. Her emotional health. Whether she'd experienced postpartum depression. They ask about her work. Whether stress at the hospital could be weighing on her. Her marriage. Any recent problems between you and Patrick, Mrs. Bradson? She shakes her head gently. We're happy. We love each other. We love Amy more than anything. Any history of mental illness in your family? My mother had anxiety, she replies. Nothing severe. Are you currently taking any medication? Just vitamins. Everything she says is noted down. The agents build a psychological profile, scanning for inconsistencies, hidden stress, repressed emotion. She agrees to take a polygraph as well. Her results, like Patrick's, come back clean. No deception indicated. No signs of evasion. And the emotional distress both parents display, it's genuine. By March 27th, 5 days after Amy vanished, the FBI publicly clears Patrick and Hannah Bradson. They are no longer persons of interest. Not suspects. They are victims. But if the parents didn't do it, then who did? Now the focus shifts to the passenger manifest. There were 3,214 people aboard the Carnival Paradise on that voyage, crew members, families with children, spring break college students, retirees, solo travelers. The task ahead is massive. The FBI begins by interviewing passengers whose cabins were closest to the Bradsons, specifically Deck 9. Cabins 9,240 through 9,255. Did you hear anything unusual during the night of March 21st? Did you see anyone near cabin 9,247? Most passengers report nothing. One elderly woman in cabin 9,243 recalls hearing footsteps in the hallway around 1 a.m., but nothing beyond that. It's a cruise, she says. People walk the halls all night. A couple on their honeymoon in 9,251 admit they didn't notice anything. They were occupied. A family in 9,248 says they remember seeing Amy at dinner with her parents. They seemed sweet, normal. We didn't notice anything strange. Another dead end. And another. And another. The FBI turns to the crew next. Every staff member is subjected to a background check. Carnival Cruise Line provides full employment records, dates of hire, previous employers, references, any prior incidents. They find 3 employees with past records. A bartender with a DUI from 2005. A maintenance technician with a petty theft charge in 2003. A cabin steward once arrested in a domestic dispute. Charges later dropped. Each is questioned thoroughly. The bartender had been on duty serving drinks in the lounge until after 2 a.m. Footage confirms it. The maintenance worker was in the engine room, corroborated by multiple staff members. The steward had been assigned to Deck 5, 2 levels below the Bradson's cabin. No access to Deck 9 that night. Each has a verifiable alibi. Each is ruled out. Still nothing. The FBI brings in child abduction specialists from Quantico. They begin analyzing the case with fresh eyes, working through every possible scenario. They build behavioral profiles, psychological sketches, statistical models. Stranger abductions from cruise ships, they explain, are extraordinarily rare. Nearly unheard of. The logistics don't make sense. How does someone remove a child from a locked cabin without waking two sleeping adults just feet away? Where do you hide her on a ship with limited space and constant activity? And how do you get her off that ship while it's in motion? The specialists comb through footage again. Frame by frame, they identify 47 individuals who walked through the corridors of Deck 9 between 10 o'clock p.m. and 4:30 a.m. That includes everyone. College students returning from the nightclub, elderly passengers pacing the halls with insomnia, crew members delivering late-night room service. Each one is found, interviewed, and cleared. April 2nd. The forensic report arrives. Crime scene techs had swabbed every surface in cabin. 9,247. They collected fingerprints, hair, fibers, anything that could tell a story. The results are disappointing. Prints from Patrick, Hannah, and Amy expected. 2 cabin stewards who cleaned the room also expected. No unidentified prints. Hair samples match the family and the cleaning staff. No foreign fibers. No biological signs of a struggle. No evidence of violence. No signs that anything had happened at all. The cabin is spotless, too spotless. If something occurred in that room, it left no trace. Investigators begin to wonder, could it have been an inside job? Someone with access? A crew member who knew the ship's weak points, the blind spots in security? Someone who could move without being seen? Even then, the logic fails. How does anyone, even with crew access, remove a sleeping child from a locked cabin without waking her parents? And then there's the chain lock. Patrick insists it was engaged when he woke at 4:17 a.m. He had to unlock it before opening the door to search. That creates a new problem. If Amy somehow walked out on her own, who locked the chain behind her? If someone carried her out, how did they relock the door from inside? The explanations get more implausible. A secret passage. An accomplice hiding inside the room. A professional operation so precise it left no physical evidence whatsoever. By mid-April, the FBI begins to consider what no one wants to say out loud. The possibility that the answer isn't just unlikely. It's unthinkable. What if Amy went overboard? It's a theory the investigators explored early. The balcony door had been locked, yes, but what if Amy had somehow unlocked it herself? What if she'd stepped outside and fallen? Except there was no sign the door had ever been opened. No tampering. No fingerprints out of place. And Amy was simply too small to reach the railing. Not even standing on the furniture would have given her the height. Another theory. What if she had wandered out of the cabin earlier in the night? Before the door was locked, before the chain was secured? Maybe she made it to the upper deck, leaned too far over the railing. But the cameras would have captured that, and they didn't. Every version of the story, every possibility, breaks down under scrutiny. Each what-if ends the same way, impossible. Meanwhile, the media attention intensifies. Amy's face is everywhere, on national news, early morning shows, true crime specials, internet forums. Cable anchors speculate. Experts analyze. Patrick and Hannah agree to interviews, holding hands, voices shaking. They beg for information. Someone knows something, Hannah says through tears. Someone saw something. Please. If you're watching this, if you know anything at all, please call the FBI. The tip line lights up. Thousands of calls flood in from across the country. Sightings in Georgia at a shopping mall. Amy seen at a gas station in Alabama. A photo taken at an Ohio theme park. A girl who looks just like her. Every lead is followed. Every tip investigated. But every one of them ends the same. Look-alike children. Mistaken identities. Misremembered faces. Wishful thinking, May 2008. 2 months after the disappearance, the FBI finally acknowledges what they've known for weeks. The case is going cold. They've interviewed every possible witness, followed every lead, analyzed every piece of physical and digital evidence, and they have nothing. No suspects, no viable theories, no explanation for how an 8-year-old girl vanished from a locked room in the middle of the ocean. The official statement is cautious, almost robotic. The investigation remains active. Resources continue to be allocated. But the truth is clear. Without new information, without a breakthrough, this case is, for all intents and purposes, unsolvable. Patrick and Hannah return to Tampa, back to the house that still holds Amy's presence in every room. Her detective notebook is still on the desk, half a case scribbled inside. Her books sit untouched on the shelf, a bookmark still holding her place. Her pink star pajamas, the same one she wore that night, are folded neatly in her drawer. Hannah can't bring herself to go into the room. Patrick tries once. He walks to the door, opens it, stands in the doorway. After a moment, he closes it gently. Doesn't open it again for months. They try to return to something resembling life. But how do you do that when your child is missing? And you have no answers? Patrick goes back to work after 3 weeks. He moves through his days on autopilot, checking tasks off one by one, staying quiet. Hannah takes a leave of absence. She can't imagine going back to the hospital. Can't imagine caring for other people's children when she couldn't protect her own. They drift through the house like ghosts. They avoid eye contact because seeing each other's grief only deepens their own. Words feel useless. Pain is constant. By August 2008, the case is officially considered cold. The FBI closes down its Miami command center. Agents are reassigned. Files are boxed up, labeled, and archived. The agency stresses that the investigation isn't closed, merely suspended pending new information. But everyone knows what that means. It's over. Amy Bradson is gone. No one knows where, or how, or why. She remains the only child in U.S. history to vanish from a cruise ship cabin with a locked door and no sign of entry or exit. A modern-day locked room mystery, one that defeated investigators at every turn. And Patrick and Hannah are left with nothing but pain and questions that have no answers. An empty house, a missing daughter, a life that stopped without warning. March 22, 2009. 1 year to the day since Amy vanished. At 4:17 a.m., Hannah wakes. Same time, same moment. It's automatic now, her body trained by grief. Like an alarm clock she never set but can't turn off. She opens her eyes in the darkness, stares at the ceiling. Patrick is already awake beside her. Neither of them says anything. What could they say? They'd planned a small memorial, just a quiet gathering at their church, but canceled it at the last minute. How do you hold a memorial for someone when you don't know if they're dead? Hannah can't accept it. Somewhere deep inside, she still expects the phone to ring. Still imagines Amy's voice on the other end, small and scared. "Mommy, I'm lost. Please come get me." Patrick is quieter, more practical. He reads the statistics, knows the odds. If a child isn't found in the first 48 hours, the chances of recovery plummet. It's been a year, 365 days, 8,760 hours. But he never says this aloud. Not to Hannah. Not even to himself. They lie there in silence as the sun rises, each drowning in their own private sea of grief, oceans apart, but still lying side by side. The house has become a mausoleum. Amy's room remains untouched. The door stays closed. Sometimes, when Patrick is at work, Hannah slips inside. She sits on the edge of Amy's bed, holding the stuffed rabbit close to her chest. She breathes in the faint scent of Amy's shampoo still lingering on the pillowcase. She talks out loud. Tells Amy about the weather, about the neighbor's new puppy, about how much she misses her. Patrick never goes in. He tried once. Made it 3 steps before the weight in his chest became too much. He turned around and closed the door behind him. He hasn't tried again. His grief is different, silent, internal, buried. He throws himself into work. Takes on more clients, bigger projects, longer hours. Anything to delay the moment when he has to walk back through their front door. Because going home means remembering. And remembering hurts. At work, Patrick's colleagues begin to notice the change. He's still reliable, still efficient, but there's something missing. The warmth, the energy, the spark. He moves through tasks like a machine. Productive, but distant. Present, but empty. His boss gently suggests counseling. Patrick nods, says he'll consider it. But he never does. In June 2009, Hannah tries to return to work. Her supervisor at Tampa General welcomes her back with soft encouragement. Offers reduced hours, lighter duties, easier shifts. Hannah gets through 2 of them. On the 3rd day, a mother walks into the ER with her 8-year-old daughter. Same age Amy would be now. Same soft brown hair, even the same braids. Hannah freezes. She excuses herself without explanation, hurries down the corridor, locks herself in the staff bathroom. She can't breathe. She sinks to the floor, hands shaking, air refusing to come in. Another nurse finds her 20 minutes later, pale and still trembling. Hannah goes home. She calls her supervisor that evening. Her voice is low, strained. "I can't," she says. "I thought I could, but I can't." Her supervisor understands. Says the door will always be open. But Hannah knows she won't be back. How can she care for other people's children when her own is missing? How can she comfort anxious parents when her own heart has been shattered beyond recognition? The marriage begins to fray, not with shouting or slammed doors, but with silence. A slow, aching erosion. They're 2 people lost in the same ocean, drowning inches apart, but unable to reach one another. Patrick needs forward motion. He needs structure. He clings to routine like a life raft. Work, tasks, schedules. They keep him from spiraling. Hannah needs stillness. Needs to freeze everything exactly as it was. Because changing anything feels like surrender. Like saying Amy isn't coming back. They speak in logistics. Nothing more. Did you pay the electric bill? I'll pick up groceries. The trash goes out tonight. Safe, practical sentences. Nothing deeper. Because deeper means pain. Deeper means touching the wound, and the wound is still too raw. By their anniversary in October 2009, they don't celebrate. They barely acknowledge the day. That night, Patrick sleeps in the guest room. Says he isn't sleeping well. Doesn't want to keep Hannah up. It becomes permanent. 2 people under one roof, orbiting the same absence. Held apart by grief they don't know how to share. March 22, 2010. 2 years since. Amy vanished. Hannah marks the day with a candlelight vigil at Bayshore Boulevard, a quiet park along the water where they used to take Amy to feed the ducks. 20 people show up, mostly neighbors. Some church friends, a few strangers who had followed the story. They light candles, stand in silence, release small balloons into the sky. Each balloon carries a message written by someone who cared. Come home. We love you. We're still looking. Hannah watches them float upward toward the bay until they disappear. Patrick stands beside her, hands in his pockets, eyes distant, face unreadable. When the others leave, Hannah stays behind. She sits on a bench facing the water and finally breaks down. Sobs rack her body, violent and unstoppable. She vomits in the grass, years of buried grief finally pouring out. Patrick sits beside her, wraps his arms around her, the first time they've truly touched in months. They cry together until they can't cry anymore. They drive home in silence. The next day, Patrick moves the rest of his clothes into the guest room permanently. He tells Hannah they need space. Time to grieve in their own ways. She doesn't argue. What would be the point? The private investigator they hired back in 2008 closes the case in 2011. He's chased every lead, made every call, flown across states on vague sightings. Their savings have been slowly drained paying his fees. He comes to their home with a worn leather briefcase on his lap and sorrow in his voice. He doesn't waste words. "I've done everything I can," he says. "I'm truly sorry. But there's nowhere else to look." He slides a thick report across the coffee table, pages filled with dates, sightings, interviews. Evidence of effort. Documentation of failure. Hannah doesn't touch it. Patrick nods once, shakes the man's hand, walks him to the door. After he leaves, Patrick picks up the file, walks outside, and drops it directly into the trash can without a word. Hannah watches from the living room window. She doesn't speak. Doesn't stop him. There's nothing left to say. By 2012, they exist in a strange limbo. Not divorced. Not together. Not dead, but not really alive. Just existing. Day after day in a home haunted by absence. The walls echo with memories. Silence has become louder than sound. Hannah begins attending a weekly support group for parents of missing children. Every Thursday night, she meets with other mothers and fathers in the basement of a local church. They sit in a circle. They share stories. They listen. They grieve. There's Carol, whose son disappeared 15 years ago. She still hangs his stocking every Christmas. There's Robert, whose daughter vanished in 1998. He's never stopped searching. No one offers empty comfort. No one says time heals. No one tells her to move on. They just sit with her. In the pain. In the not knowing. It helps. Not much. But enough to breathe. In 2013, Patrick meets someone. Her name is Jennifer. She's a project manager. Divorced. No kids. She works in the same building. They start with lunch breaks. Then coffee. Then the occasional dinner after work. Nothing physical happens. Patrick isn't seeking that. But Jennifer listens. She doesn't treat him like a fragile man. She asks questions. She remembers details. She makes him feel like he still exists outside his grief. Then one evening, Hannah sees a message notification on Patrick's phone. It's from Jennifer. Nothing inappropriate. Just a question. Lunch again tomorrow? But Hannah knows Patrick is building a life without her. He's beginning to heal in ways she can't. He's finding comfort in someone else's presence, in conversation, in connection. And she's still stuck in that cabin on that ship. In that one unspeakable morning that never ended. That night, Hannah tells Patrick he should leave. Her voice isn't angry, isn't sharp, just tired in a way that feels older than her years. "You should go, Patrick. We're not helping each other anymore. We're only hurting each other by staying." Patrick doesn't fight it. He doesn't defend himself, doesn't ask her to reconsider. He simply nods. Maybe because he knows she's right. Maybe because the words were already sitting in his own chest. He packs a bag quietly. Leaves without ceremony. Checks into a hotel for a few weeks before eventually renting a small apartment near his office. They separate, unofficially but completely. Papers aren't filed. Lawyers aren't hired. What would be the point? This isn't the end of a marriage. It is the acknowledgement that the marriage ended the moment Amy disappeared, March 22, 2014. 6 years. Hannah wakes at 4:17 a.m. like She has every single day since Amy vanished. But this time, Patrick isn't next to her. Hasn't been for months. She gets out of bed, pads into the kitchen, makes a cup of coffee she barely tastes, and sits in the dim, quiet house as the sky slowly brightens outside. Amy would be 14 now. 8th grade. Thinking about high school. Would she have Patrick's meticulous engineering mind? Or Hannah's artistic heart? Would she still read constantly? Still fill notebooks with doodles and stories and detective cases? Hannah will never know. She will never watch her daughter become a teenager, go to prom, graduate, fall in love, make mistakes, build a life. The not knowing is the sharpest pain. Worse even than death. Death, at least, has answers. This grief has none, just endless wondering, endless hoping, endless aching for something to hold on to. Hannah has given up on the police, the FBI, the private investigators. She's given up on Patrick, on their marriage, on the life they built before that spring break cruise. But she hasn't given up on Amy. Never Amy. Every night before bed, she whispers the same quiet prayer. Wherever you are, baby, I love you. I'm still here. I'm still waiting. And she means it. She'll wait 30 years if she has to. Because that's what mothers do. They wait. They hope. They hold on, even when all that's left is shadows in an empty bedroom down the hall. 6 years of silence. 6 years of unanswered questions. 6 years of a family shattered by one impossible night aboard a cruise ship. But silence doesn't last forever. Even the deepest secrets rise eventually. Even the most buried truths find their way into the light. Hannah doesn't know it yet, but her waiting is nearly over. The answer she's been searching for is closer than she could ever have imagined. And when she finally sees it, it will break her all over again and free her in ways she never expected. November 2014. Hannah has learned to survive. Not live, just survive. The difference is subtle, but she feels it every morning when she wakes up. She works part-time at a library now, shelving books, stamping returns, organizing stacks. Quiet work, predictable. It doesn't require smiles or conversation, which is all she needs. She still lives in the house, though it feels far too big and far too empty. Patrick still pays half the mortgage without being asked. They exchange a handful of polite emails about bills but rarely speak. Patrick lives with Jennifer now in her condo in Clearwater. Hannah feels nothing about it, not jealousy, not anger. Just a distant, almost academic awareness that Patrick has found a form of healing she can't reach. Her therapist says this emotional numbness is common in long-term grief, a type of protection. Hannah doesn't care what it's called. It keeps her functional. That's enough. Thanksgiving week. Hannah's sister Claire calls from Charlotte. Come visit for the holiday, she pleads. You shouldn't spend another Thanksgiving alone. Hannah has spent the last 5 Thanksgivings alone. She sees no reason to break the pattern. But Claire is persistent, gentle, but unrelenting. Eventually, she wears Hannah down. Fine, Hannah says. I'll come for a few days. She packs lightly, books a flight, arrives in Charlotte on Tuesday afternoon. Claire meets her at the airport, hugs her too tightly, and comments on how thin she's gotten. Hannah shrugs it off, changes the subject, asks about the kids. They drive to Claire's home in the suburbs, the kind of warm, comfortable family life Hannah used to have. A tidy 2-story colonial, a trimmed lawn, kids' bikes in the driveway. Tom, Claire's husband, greets her warmly. The 3 children swarm her with hugs. Hannah does her best to smile, to play the role of the visiting aunt, but inside, she's already counting the hours until she can politely leave. Thanksgiving dinner is loud and crowded. Claire invited extended family, neighbors, friends. Nearly 20 people squeeze into the space, talking over each other, passing dishes, laughing. Hannah picks at her food, smiles mechanically, nods at the right moments. Several times she excuses herself to the bathroom just to breathe in the quiet. After dinner, once the house begins to settle, Claire suggests they go shopping on Friday. The outlets have big sales, she says. It'll be fun. Like old times. Hannah reluctantly agrees. Black Friday. They drive to Concord Mills, a massive outlet mall already packed shoulder to shoulder with shoppers. The holiday energy hums through the air, bright and exhausting. Hannah follows Claire through the stores, pretending to be interested in sweaters she doesn't need and shoes she never wear. She drifts through each aisle like a visitor in someone else's life. Around noon, Claire insists they take a break. She guides Hannah to a small cafe with outdoor tables, orders 2 lattes and pushes one toward her. They sit together, watching crowds surge past with shopping bags and holiday excitement. And that's when Hannah sees her, a girl, maybe 13 or 14, walking between a woman and a man. Brown hair, soft features, a familiar way of laughing, animated and alive. Hannah's breath catches. Her coffee cup slips from her hands, hits the table, spills everywhere. Claire jumps up, grabbing napkins, asking what's wrong. But Hannah can't answer. She can't speak. She can't breathe. She can't look away. She can only stare as the girl disappears into the moving crowd, slipping from sight as quickly as she appeared. Claire follows Hannah's gaze, puzzled. Hannah. What is it? Hannah tries to speak, finds her voice fragile. That girl, she says. The one who just walked by. Claire turns her head, scanning the crowd surging past the cafe tables. But the moment is already gone. The girl is gone. What girl? Hannah, I don't see anyone. She had brown hair, a pink jacket. She was walking with a man and a woman. Claire keeps looking, brow furrowed. There are hundreds of girls here. I don't know who you mean. Hannah stands abruptly. Her chair scrapes loudly against the concrete. She doesn't explain. I have to find her. Before Claire can respond, Hannah takes off, disappearing into the moving crowd. Shoppers blur past her as she pushes through, eyes darting, head turning in every direction. She catches a flicker, a flash of pink jacket up ahead, turns a corner, only to lose her again. Doubles back. Her heart is racing. Her vision narrows. She knows this is probably nothing. Knows she's chasing a shadow. 6 years of heartbreak finally breaking through the surface of her mind. That's what any reasonable person would say, but the girl's profile, the way she walked, the curve of her jaw, the way she laughed, it felt so familiar. So unmistakably Amy. She searches for 20 minutes, desperate, focused, unblinking, and finds nothing. The girl is gone. Swallowed by the river of bodies. Vanished into the chaos of holiday shoppers. Hannah finally stops in the middle of the mall, breathing hard. The world moves around her like she's invisible. A rock in the middle of a current she can't fight. Claire finds her a few minutes later and gently takes her arm. Hannah. Come on, let's go home. You need to rest. Hannah doesn't respond, but she lets Claire lead her back to the car. She sits in the passenger seat, silent, staring blankly out the window. I saw her, she whispers finally. I swear, Claire, I saw her. Claire says nothing, just gives her sister a glance filled with worry and helplessness. Back at the house, Claire gently suggests calling Hannah's therapist. Hannah refuses. She's not crazy. She knows what she saw. That night in the guest room, Hannah lies awake. She replays those 3 seconds again and again. The girl's laugh. The bounce in her step. The way her head turned just slightly. Could it have been Amy? Or has Hannah finally lost the grip she spent 6 years desperately trying to hold? Saturday morning, Hannah insists on going back to the mall. Claire tries to talk her out of it, tells her it's not healthy, not helpful, but Hannah won't hear it. Please, just drive me there. I need to look. Back at Concord Mills, they walk the perimeter twice. Hannah scans every teenager, studies every face, silently begging for a glimpse of that girl again. Nothing. No familiar figure. No pink jacket. No brown hair that makes her heart seize. Claire suggests they stop at mall security. Maybe show them Amy's photo. Ask if anyone's reported seeing someone like her. They do that. The security office is kind, but overwhelmed. Ma'am, we get thousands of people through here every day, the guard says. Without a recent photo or specific details, there's not much we can do. Hannah opens her phone. Shows them the age progression photo the FBI created years earlier. What Amy might look like at 14. The guard studies it for a moment, then shakes his head, apologetic. I'm sorry. That could be any number of girls. Hannah nods. She knows he's right. She knows this is a long shot. She thanks them and leaves quietly, but inside, she feels like she's just lost Amy all over again. The flight back to Tampa on Sunday is torture. Hannah stares out the airplane window, her thoughts spiraling faster than the jet engines beneath her. What if that really was Amy? What if she's alive, living somewhere in North Carolina, and Hannah let her walk away? But none of it makes sense. If Amy had been found, Hannah would have been notified, unless Amy was never found. Unless she was taken, hidden, raised by someone else. Unless the impossible happened and Amy survived, without anyone knowing, for 6 years. The thoughts multiply. Each one more desperate, more far-fetched than the last. By the time the wheels touch down in Tampa, Hannah has convinced herself it was a hallucination. A random girl, seen for 3 seconds, mistaken in a moment of longing. Grief, she tells herself. Just grief, playing tricks again, but she can't let it go. Monday morning, she picks up the phone and dials the number she hasn't called in years, the one that belongs to Agent Thomas Reeves, the FBI investigator who worked Amy's case. She gets his voicemail. Her message is a mess, rambling, scattered. She talks about Charlotte, the mall, the girl she saw, the pink jacket, the laugh. She says she knows it sounds crazy. She says she doesn't know who else to tell. Agent Reeves calls her back later that afternoon. His voice is steady, gentle, polished by years of conversations like this. Mrs. Bradson, I understand that you think you may have seen someone who resembled Amy. He pauses. Hannah can already feel the letdown coming. These kinds of sightings are incredibly common, he says, especially for parents in long-term grief. The brain recognizes what the heart wants most. It's not deception, it's longing. But what if it really was her? Hannah asks, her voice tight. What if I saw her? There's another pause, a longer one. If Amy were alive and living with another family, he says carefully, someone would have noticed. A neighbor, a teacher, a doctor. Someone would have come forward. We have systems. And they work, Mrs. Bradson. I know it doesn't feel like it, but they do. Hannah thanks him, hangs up, and sits in silence. She feels dismissed, brushed aside, but also deep down. She knows he's probably right. She knows how unlikely it is, but she still can't let it go. December 2014. Hannah becomes obsessed. She joins online forums dedicated to missing children. She reads every post. She learns names, case histories, patterns, scenarios. She reads about parental abduction, stranger abduction, cases where children disappeared and then resurfaced years, sometimes decades later. She learns about Elizabeth Smart, rescued after 9 months. About J.C. Jugard, found alive after 18 years. She reads about the rare, miraculous recoveries and clings to them like oxygen. It's rare. But it happens. Sometimes. Children come home. And that thought, that tiny sliver of possibility, becomes her new purpose. She starts making trips to Charlotte on weekends. Quiet, unannounced. She drives the 5 hours alone. She returns to Concord Mills Mall. Sits in the food court for hours at a time, scanning the crowd. Watching faces. Waiting. Hoping. Every girl with brown hair makes her heart skip. Every laugh she hears makes her turn. Most days, she sees nothing. Just strangers. Just noise. But she keeps coming. Because maybe. Just maybe. The girl will come back. Claire pleads with her to stop. She tells Hannah gently, "This isn't healthy." But Hannah can't. She shakes her head and repeats the same thing every time. What if the girl comes back? What if Hannah has just one more chance and misses it? What if it's because she gave up? 3 weekends pass. 3 long Saturdays sitting in the same cafe, watching the same crowd. Hannah's eyes scan faces until they blur together. Nothing. The girl never reappears. And slowly, painfully, Hannah starts to accept the truth, or what feels like the truth, that it's over. That she hallucinated. That 6 years of grief finally cracked something loose in her mind. She makes an appointment with her therapist. Considers increasing her medication. Wonders if she should check herself in somewhere, just for a few days. Then comes weekend 4. December 20th. Hannah is sitting at the same small outdoor cafe in Concord Mills, the same table. The same coffee, cold in her hand. The same ache behind her eyes. And then she sees her, the girl. Walking past the fountain, same soft brown hair, same gait, same energy. This time she's only with the woman. No man. The woman's arms are full of shopping bags. Hannah's hands start shaking so badly she almost drops her phone. She fumbles with it. Heart thundering, opens the camera app, zooms in, snaps 1, 2, 3 photos just before the girl disappears again around a corner. But this time, Hannah doesn't chase. She doesn't move at all. She sits there paralyzed, phone still in her grip, staring at the photos on the screen. The images aren't perfect. Taken from 50 feet away, a little blurry. But they're clear enough to confirm what? Hannah's heart has been screaming for a month. That's Amy, 6 years older, yes. Hair longer. A little taller. But Hannah knows. She'd know her daughter's face in 1,000 different lifetimes. She'd know it in a stadium full of strangers. She'd know it in a dream or a shadow or the dark. That is her baby, alive, and walking around a shopping mall in Charlotte like she belongs to another life. A girl growing up while Hannah has been drowning in the space she left behind. The world tilts. All the background noise falls away. She hears nothing but the rush of blood in her ears. And one phrase looping again and again, 2,190 days. Alive, December 20th, 2014. Hannah remains frozen in her seat at the cafe. Her phone trembles in her hand. She doesn't blink, doesn't speak, just stares at the 3 photos on her screen. There's no doubt anymore. The girl in the image is 14 now. Her face has changed, matured, but not beyond recognition. One photo even captures her left wrist. The birthmark is there, small, crescent-shaped. The same mark Hannah used to kiss every night after bath time. The one she memorized like scripture. There's no mistaking it. No chance this is someone else. No hallucination. No projection. Amy is alive, walking through a North Carolina mall like it's any other Saturday afternoon, living another life, while Hannah has been trapped in a house full of shadows. Slowly disappearing for 6 years, her first instinct is to run, to call out Amy's name, to scream across the mall, to grab her and never let go. But something, survival, instinct, clarity, stops her. If she causes a scene, whoever is with Amy might panic. Might vanish again right now. Hannah has one advantage. They don't know she's found them. She needs to be smart, strategic. She needs to follow them. Find out where they live. Then call the police. The FBI. Everyone. Bring an army if she has to. But not yet. She rises slowly, her legs trembling under her. She leaves cash on the table without counting it and walks briskly in the direction they'd gone. She spots them again near a children's clothing store. The woman is examining jackets. Amy stands nearby, looking bored, shifting her weight from foot to foot. Hannah ducks behind a clothing rack, her breath shallow. She watches from 30 feet away. It's her first real look at the woman. Late 30s, blonde hair. Average height. Nothing remarkable. She could be anyone. A school teacher. A nurse. A neighbor. But who is she? Is she the woman who took Amy that night? Or is she someone else, someone who bought a stolen child? Someone who's been pretending to be a mother for 6 years? Rage swells in Hannah's chest. Acidic. Boiling. This woman has been raising Amy, tucking her in, hearing her laugh, watching her grow, living the life that was meant to be Hannah's. They finish shopping and head for the parking lot. Hannah follows at a safe distance, weaving through families and carts, careful not to get too close. They reach a silver Honda Odyssey with North Carolina plates. Hannah memorizes the plate number instantly. She pulls out her phone and snaps a photo of it. Amy climbs into the back seat. The woman settles into the driver's seat. Hannah sprints to her rental car 3 rows away, fumbles with the keys, throws herself behind the wheel, and starts the engine. The Odyssey pulls out, turns left onto the main road. Hannah follows. She stays 3 cars behind. Breath shallow. Hands gripping the steering wheel so tight her knuckles are white. Every instinct is screaming at her. Call the police. Let them handle it. But what if they lose the car? What if they make a mistake? What if the woman realizes she's being followed and vanishes again? Hannah can't risk it. She needs to know where Amy lives. Needs proof. A location. Something solid. The drive takes 23 minutes, winding northeast into the suburbs. Neighborhood after neighborhood passes in a blur. Finally, the Odyssey turns into a quiet subdivision. Meadowbrook Estates, well-maintained lawns, matching mailboxes, kids' bikes on porches. Everything neat, normal. They pull into the driveway of a pale blue house. 4782 Willow Creek Drive. Hannah drives past slowly. Memorizes the number. Parks 2 streets over, heart hammering, mind racing. She pulls her hood up, despite the mild winter weather, and walks back on foot. She keeps to the sidewalk, then ducks behind a neighbor's hedge for cover. From there, she watches Amy and the woman unload shopping bags, chatting, laughing. They walk through the front door like it's just another Saturday. From behind the hedge, Hannah sees lights turn on in the living room, sees movement through the curtains. The flicker of a TV, a figure passing by, normal life. Stolen life. Inside that house is the answer to 6 years of silence. Inside that house is the daughter who vanished, and now, impossibly, has come home without even knowing it. Hannah stares through the branches, breathless, and begins to plan. A man steps into view. Tall, dark-haired, relaxed. He greets the woman with a warm hug, ruffles the girl's hair playfully. Amy laughs at something he says. Then he disappears deeper into the house, leaving behind only the sound of that laughter, a sound Hannah hasn't heard in 6 long years. Her chest tightens so suddenly she can hardly breathe. This is Amy's life now. This house, these people, this quiet neighborhood and its stolen sense of normalcy. While Hannah's been unraveling for 6 years, Amy has been here, growing up, laughing, calling strangers her parents, fingers trembling. Hannah pulls out her phone and dials 911. The line clicks. 911, what's your emergency? Her voice breaks. I found her. My daughter. She was kidnapped 6 years ago, and I found her. I'm outside the house where they're keeping her. The operator's tone sharpens with focus. Ma'am, what's your location? Hannah gives the address, 4782 Willow Creek Drive. Describes the house, the people inside. Blonde woman, brown-haired teenage girl. Her name is Amy Bradson. She disappeared in 2008. The operator is calm but firm. Police are on their way. Please stay on the line. Do not approach the house. But Hannah ends the call. She can't wait. She can't stay on the other side of the street while her daughter is right there, just steps away. Her feet are already moving before her mind catches up. She crosses the road. Up the driveway. Onto the front porch. Every part of her brain is screaming don't, but her body doesn't stop. She rings the doorbell. Footsteps inside. The door opens. The woman from the mall stands there, holding a polite smile. She expects a package or maybe a neighbor. Yes? Can I help you? Hannah stares at her. This woman, who stole everything, her voice shakes. Where is Amy? The smile falters. I'm sorry. Who? My daughter. Amy Bradson. She's in your house. I saw you with her at the mall. Don't lie to me. The woman's face drains of color. Her hand tightens on the doorframe. I think you're mistaken. There's no one here by that name. Hannah's voice rises, raw and urgent. I'm not mistaken. I have photos. I know she's here. The woman moves to shut the door. Hannah jams her foot in the doorway. Let me see her right now or I'm calling the police. The woman's eyes flick back inside the house, calculating. She opens her mouth to respond, but before she can, a voice calls out from the hallway. Mom? Who is it? And then Amy appears. Just behind the woman, half hidden in the dim hallway. A quiet, curious expression on her face. Time stops. Mother and daughter lock eyes across a space no wider than 10 feet, but it feels like an ocean. Recognition flashes across Amy's face. It's instant, unmistakable, but then something else, confusion and fear. Amy takes a step back. She whispers, Mom, close the door. The word hits Hannah like a brick. Mom. Amy just called this woman Mom. Her heart cracks open. Amy, baby. It's me. It's your real mom. I've been looking for you for 6 years. Please. Come here, please. Amy shakes her head, backing farther into the hallway. I don't know you. Please go away. The woman, Sarah, recovers quickly. She tries to close the door again, but Hannah pushes harder. Her adrenaline surges. Amy, they took you. Do you remember the cruise ship? March 2008? You disappeared from our cabin. We thought you were dead. Amy's face turns pale. Her eyes widen. The man returns. He sees what's happening and instantly steps between Amy and the door. Sarah, call the police. Sarah reaches for her phone. But Hannah lunges forward, grabbing Amy's wrist. Please. Just look at me. Look at my face. You know me. Amy panics, tries to pull away. Hannah clings tighter. You have a crescent birthmark on your wrist. You loved reading mysteries. You used to say you wanted to be a detective. Your favorite color is purple. Your stuffed rabbit was named Mr. Hoppy. Do you remember? Amy's eyes fill with tears. She's shaking. I don't know what you're talking about. Let go of me, please. The man grabs Hannah's arm, shoves her backward. You need to leave. Right now. But Hannah won't let go. I'm your mother. Your real mother. Patrick is your father. We lived in Tampa. We went on a cruise, and you vanished. And I have died every day since. Amy is sobbing now. Please let go. You're scaring me. Sarah, clutching the phone, screams into the receiver. There's a woman in our house. She's attacking our daughter. Please, we need police, now. Hannah finally lets go. Her strength evaporates. She stumbles back a few steps, hands raised and shaking. I'm not attacking her, she pleads. She's mine. She's my daughter. Sirens wail in the distance. They're getting closer. The man stands protectively in front of Sarah and Amy. You're disturbed. I don't know what you think is happening here, but this is our daughter. We've raised her since she was a toddler. Hannah fumbles for her phone, pulls up photos. No, look, this is Amy when she was 8. This is the FBI report. This is the cruise ship she vanished from. Look at her face then, and look at her now. It's her. Sarah's eyes flick between the screen and Amy. Something changes. Her expression shifts. Just slightly. The first crack in her calm. The man notices. Sarah, what's she talking about? Sarah's voice is faint. James, I need to tell you something. Before she can finish, police cars screech up outside. Tires against pavement. Lights flashing. Officers flood the porch. Guns drawn. Hands up. Step away from the door. Hannah lifts her hand slowly, still holding her phone. Please, I'm Hannah Bradson. My daughter was kidnapped in 2008 from a cruise ship. She's been missing for 6 years. That girl, she's Amy. She's mine. One officer signals the others to hold. He approaches gently, addressing the girl behind James and Sarah. Sweetheart, can you tell me your name? The girl is trembling. Her voice is barely above a whisper. Lily Morrison. The officer turns toward Sarah and James. Are you her parents? James answers immediately, voice steady. Yes, we adopted her in 2009 through a private agency. We have all the legal documentation. Everything was official. Hannah's breath catches. Adopted. Private agency. 2009. 1 year after Amy vanished from their cruise cabin. The implications settle in like bricks in her stomach. A horrific picture forming, piece by piece. The officer looks at Sarah. Do you have the adoption paperwork? Sarah hesitates, eyes shifting to James. Then slowly she nods. It's in the office. I'll go get it. She disappears down the hallway and returns a minute later with a manila folder. She hands it to the officer. He begins flipping through the documents inside. A birth certificate, adoption decree, Social Security registration. All neat, clean, official. All bearing the name Lily Morrison. Born in 2006. Adopted in early 2009. But Amy was born in 2000, not 2006. The officer's jaw tenses. He radios for backup, requesting detectives and federal coordination. This is no longer a domestic dispute. This is something far bigger. Detective Maria Santos arrives 15 minutes later, calm, precise, in control. She immediately separates everyone into different parts of the house to prevent any crosstalk. Then she begins taking statements. One by one. Hannah sits in the living room, flanked by 2 uniformed officers. She recounts everything. The cruise. The locked cabin door. The night Amy disappeared. The grief that followed. The mall sighting. The photographs. And now this. She shows Santos the missing persons report, the FBI case number. Family photos. Amy as a baby, as a toddler. As a bright-eyed 8-year-old grinning the day before they boarded the ship. Detective Santos looks at the photos. Then she glances toward the kitchen where Amy, or Lily, sits quietly with a female officer, The resemblance is immediate, uncheckable. Santos doesn't waste time. She calls in the FBI, requests a forensic team and background checks. Local police aren't equipped for what this might become. In the kitchen, Santos sits across from Amy. Her voice is soft. Sweetheart, I need to ask you a few things. Just answer as best as you can, okay? Amy nods slightly. What's the earliest thing you can remember? Amy thinks for a long moment. I remember an apartment. I think Sarah was there. I called her Mommy. We moved into this house when I was maybe 9. But before that, it's fuzzy. Santos leans in gently. Do you ever remember being called Amy? Or living in Florida? Or maybe being on a boat? Amy shakes her head, but something flickers in her eyes. A flicker of uncertainty. A thread of memory, buried but tugging. I have dreams sometimes, she whispers. About water. About being alone. Scared. Sarah always said they were just nightmares. In the office, Santos questioned Sarah and James separately. James is confident, calm. He insists the adoption was legal. A private agency in Georgia handled everything. All papers were filed properly. When Santos asks the agency's name, James replies, Sunshine Adoptions. She writes it down. Her suspicion already growing. Private. Adoptions of older children through obscure agencies are well-known red flags. Sarah's interview is different. She's nervous, twitchy. Her hands won't stop moving. She avoids Santos's eyes. Santos lowers her voice. Sarah, I need you to be honest with me. Where did Lily really come from? Sarah breaks. Tears spill down her cheeks. Her voice trembles. The guilt of 6 years crashes down all at once. I didn't know, she says, barely audible. I swear to God I didn't know. Not until tonight. She wipes her eyes with trembling hands. James handled everything. He told me the agency had vetted her, said her biological parents had died in a car accident, that she had no family. I believed him. I wanted a child so badly. We'd tried for years and nothing worked. When James said he found a little girl who needed us, I didn't ask enough questions. I didn't want to. Santos presses gently. When did James bring her home? Sarah exhales shakily. Late March, 2009. He'd been away for work. He said he finalized the adoption while he was gone. He brought her home on March 28th, exactly 1 week after the 1-year anniversary of Amy's disappearance. Too perfect. Too suspicious. Santos requests James's travel history and employment records. The details come in quickly. And the story unravels. James Morrison wasn't just some adoptive parent. In 2008, he worked security for Carnival Cruise Lines. He was stationed on the Paradise, the exact ship the Bradsons had sailed on. He was on duty the night Amy disappeared. He was one of the officers who responded to the Bradsons' cabin at 4:17 a.m. He had full access to the ship. He knew its blind spots. He knew the procedures. He helped conduct the search. He knew exactly how to make someone vanish and how to cover his tracks. By evening, the FBI is on the scene. They take over the investigation and immediately pull James aside for a full interrogation. He denies everything at first. He claims the adoption was legitimate, insists Lily is their daughter. But when faced with the mounting evidence, the cruise manifest, his job title, the timeline, he falters. Then he asks for a lawyer and stops talking. But his silence is louder than any confession. The FBI moves quickly. A forensic team takes DNA samples from both Amy and Hannah. They mark it urgent. Priority processing. The results come back within 48 hours. Maternal match, 99.97%. Certainty. Lily Morrison is Amy Bradson. She was never adopted. She was kidnapped. stolen from her family by the very officers sent to help find her. The truth is horrifying. Through further investigation, the how comes to light. James had been planning it for months. He was drowning in debt, gambling problems, quiet desperation. He knew there was demand for private adoptions, desperate couples willing to pay anything. He knew the underworld that fed off that demand. And he knew how to disappear a child. He studied the Bradson family for 2 days. Tourists. Quiet. No links to the crew. A perfect target. On the night of March 22nd, around 3 a.m., he used his master key card to access their cabin. Already introduced a mild sedative through the cabin ventilation system, just enough to keep Hannah and Patrick unconscious. Then he carried out his plan. Removed the sleeping child. Took her through back corridors restricted to crew. Hid her in a maintenance closet. Staged the scene to look like a locked from inside disappearance. Locked the chain from the inside using a tool. Exited through the service vents. Then he returned to the Bradsons' cabin, played the part. Shocked, helpful, concerned. He participated in the search. He stood beside Patrick and Hannah pretending to care. All the while, Amy was hidden away, somewhere beneath their feet. He kept her concealed in a disused crew quarters until the ship reached port. Then smuggled her out inside a laundry cart. For nearly a year, he kept her hidden in a rental storage unit, while forging new documents and slowly breaking her sense of identity, until the girl once known as Amy was no longer sure she had ever been anyone else. He convinced her, over months, that her real parents had abandoned her, that Sarah was her savior, that the life before them never existed. By the time James brought her home in the spring of 2009, Amy was no longer the same child. She was traumatized, disoriented, isolated. She accepted the false name, let go of the fragments she couldn't piece together. Amy Bradson disappeared inside her own mind, buried beneath confusion and fear, and in her place, Lily Morrison emerged December 23, 2014. James Morrison is officially arrested. The charges are severe: kidnapping, child trafficking, identity fraud, conspiracy across state lines. The weight of the law crashes down. Sarah is questioned at length. Authorities comb through her digital history, her finances, her involvement. But in the end, she is not charged. The evidence shows she was manipulated, that she truly believed their adoption had been legal, that she too had been a victim of her husband's deception. She's devastated by the truth, broken, but she cooperates fully, answers every question, hands over every record. She tries to help undo the harm. Amy, or Lily, as she still answers to, is placed in protective custody. Therapists and trauma specialists begin the delicate process of evaluation. Her world has been ripped open. The truth too big to absorb all at once. She needs time, space, healing. Hannah is granted supervised visits. The first meeting between them is nearly unbearable. Amy doesn't recognize her. Not really. Her memories are hazy, shuttered behind thick emotional walls. She looks at Hannah with polite curiosity. Not fear, not connection. Just a distant blankness. But Hannah doesn't push. She simply sits beside her and talks softly, telling her about when she was little, about how she used to hold Mr. Hoppy the rabbit everywhere they went, about her dream of becoming a detective, about bedtime songs and whispered stories under the covers. And then, something shifts, a flicker. Amy's eyes widen slightly, a tremble in her voice. "I know that song," she says suddenly. Hannah stops breathing. "Which one?" "You Are My Sunshine." Tears fill Hannah's eyes instantly. "I sang that to you," she whispers. "Every single night." Amy stares at her, silent, but something's breaking loose. More flashes follow in the days after. Amy begins to recall the cruise. The feeling of fear. A dark corridor. A strange man whispering that everything would be okay. A locked door. Water. Was that real? She asks once, voice thin as paper. Hannah takes her hand. Yes, sweetheart. It was all real. You were taken. But you're safe now. You're safe, and you're home. The road back is long. The reunification process is slow and fragile, guided carefully by trauma counselors. Amy is forced to reckon with two conflicting lives, the one she was born into and the one she was forced to believe was hers. Two mothers. Two homes. Two identities. Sarah visits. She says goodbye to the girl she raised. The girl she called daughter. She tells her she loves her, will always love her, even though everything between them was built on stolen time. Amy listens but doesn't say much. Her silence says enough. Patrick arrives from Tampa. A few days later, seeing his daughter for the first time in 6 years breaks him. He collapses in tears, overwhelmed by a grief that never fully healed. Amy watches him quietly. But in time, something familiar surfaces, his voice, his laugh. She remembers. Tiny puzzle pieces click into place. By January 2015. After weeks of supervised interactions and professional guidance, Amy is officially released into Hannah's custody. The two return to Tampa, to the house where Amy had once lived as a little girl. Her room is untouched, preserved like a shrine. The same pink curtains. The same wall stickers. The same shelf where Mr. Hoppy used to sit. The sight overwhelms Amy. She doesn't recognize most of it. Her life has moved on. This room has not. Together they begin to pack it up. Bit by bit. They sort through toys and books and memories frozen in time. And then they create something new, a room for the girl Amy is now, 14, in recovery. Not 8. Not lost. Time moved forward. James Morrison's trial begins in 2016. The courtroom is filled with reporters, experts, prosecutors, witnesses. He's charged with every possible count and convicted on all of them. Sentenced to 40 years in a federal facility. No possibility of parole. Sarah divorces him. Testifies against him. She's a ghost of who she was, trying to pick up the pieces of a life she never fully understood. And then the real story begins to unravel. Sunshine Adoptions. The agency James used is a front. The FBI uncovers a much deeper network. Other missing children are traced back to it. A nationwide investigation unfolds. Amy's case is only the beginning. Amy herself testifies. She's stronger now. 2 years of therapy have sharpened the blurry edges of her memory. She speaks with clarity. She describes the night she disappeared. The way the man, James, told her she wasn't wanted. That she needed a new family. That her name wasn't Amy anymore. The jury cries. So does Hannah, watching from the gallery. Patrick is beside her. They aren't a couple anymore. Too much time, too much trauma. But they're a team. United in the one thing that matters. Amy. March 22, 2017. 9 years since the cruise. 3 years since. Hannah spotted her in that Charlotte mall. They mark the day now, not with grief, but with gratitude. Amy is 16. In high school. And considering everything she's endured, she's doing remarkably well. She still sees her therapist twice a week. Still has the occasional nightmare. But she's healing. She's rebuilding her identity. She has friends. She plays soccer. She dreams of becoming a psychologist someday to help others who've been through trauma like hers. Hannah still works at the library. But now she smiles, truly. Often. Patrick has remarried a kind woman named Jennifer. They have a baby daughter, Amy's half-sister. The holidays are complex, but beautiful. They spend them together. A patchwork family stitched by loss and love. Amy calls Hannah Mom, calls Patrick Dad. She doesn't speak about Sarah much. It's too painful. But she keeps one photo of them tucked in a drawer, a quiet acknowledgement of the love, however misguided, that she did receive. The yellow house where Amy grew up as Lily has been sold. A new family lives there now, unaware of its past. Back in Tampa, the Bradson home has changed too. No longer a shrine. The walls have been repainted. The furniture updated. It's a home again, not a mausoleum. Amy's bedroom looks like any teenager's now. Band posters. Scribbled notes, Polaroids with friends, and on a shelf. Faded but safe sits Mr. Hoppy. Some nights. When the world feels uncertain, Amy still asks Hannah to sing. You are my sunshine. My only sunshine. She closes her eyes and lets the lullaby wash over her dot in those moments. She isn't Lily. She isn't lost. She's Amy Bradson, the daughter who was stolen, the child who was found, the girl who came home, not because of a forensic database, not because of a breakthrough in DNA, but because one mother refused to stop searching, refused to stop believing. It took 6 years. A locked room. An impossible mystery, but the truth came out, and the family that had been shattered was slowly, painfully stitched back together. Not the same, but whole. Amy Bradson is home. Finally, miraculously, home.